Hey guys, it's Jeremy here at my way MFG. I've had a heck of a cold this week, but I'm back out in the garage today, getting a little bit further with the car. I'll show you what I'm doing. First I want to show you the Bondo I'm using. I got this stuff from O'Reilly's, and I learned quite a while back, you don't want to use cheap body filler. I say Bondo, it's body filler. Bondo is actually a brand name. They sell it like Walmart, Menards. It's the brand name of body filler called Bondo. Ironically, that stuff you don't want to use. You want to get better stuff from an auto parts store or a paint supplier, somewhere like that. This body filler here, and most of your new body fillers, will stick to multiple substrates and perform well. So if you got bare metal, that's great. If you've got fiberglass, that's great. But this will also stick to sanded primer and sanded paint. So when you're doing a repair, let's say you've got bare metal and then it fades out and you've got it sanded off and there's some primer showing and it sands back into your paint. As long as that's all sanded, you can feather this Bondo right into your paint line and make a perfect repair. Spray your primer and repaint. Whereas the older style Bondos, body fillers, like Bondo brand, you can't put over paint. It's only supposed to stick to bare metal. And not only that, it pinholes real bad. You're gonna have a lot of glazing to do after you get it done. And it's hard to sand. It sands like concrete. The last thing you want is to have body filler that sands like concrete. So there's a couple things that help a guy while doing this. One is a good welder. If you've got a cheap welder, that's going to make your life a living hell. Like a little cheap 80 amp flux core deal, not good. Get yourself a good welder. Get good body filler. The Bondo brand I was talking about, this is fiberglass I'm using, and it is Bondo brand. But for the fiberglass, that seems fine. Usually it sticks well, does what it's supposed to. Probably as good as any, I'm guessing. But with that, all you're really doing is taking it down with 40 grit, you know, trying to get it. I like to use it for big areas or structural areas or covering up weld seams. I cover up all my weld seams with it so I know I've got all my pinholes. Then usually just take a flapper wheel on a grinder, just take it down, leaving it on your welds, of course, and then go over it with the body filler. Now, I wasn't going to use any body filler in the trunk because it's a trunk. It's probably going to get coated with something rough. One of the guys on the comments mentioned using truck bed liner. Thinking about doing that. But I don't have to get this ultra smooth. But that being said, I am going to put a little Bondo in there to just kind of smooth off where my fiberglass ends and stuff. It'll just be a thin layer, but it's just gonna look better, easy enough to do. But let me show you over here. I started fiberglassing all this up yesterday, like this weld along the top here. That's got a layer of fiberglass in it. It's all been ground off. That should have got all the pinholes. I'll go with Bondo from there. Same way with all the splits. And this panel's real good and smooth at the top where I wasn't doing any work to it. Down lower, I'm gonna have to use some Bondo and try to get it as round as possible. You know, take out any of the angular areas. I've welded an 1/8 inch round rod in here along the side, and I've stitched it to the floor and the wall of the trunk. And then this whole area in this body line right here, they've got stamped into the inner fender. I just put a thin layer of Duraglass in there. And I'm gonna take that Duraglass clear down over the top welds on the top of the round rod and get that all just kind of smoothed off with my finger. And then after that's done, we might put a thin skimmer of Bondo over that to smooth it off a little more. And then I'm just gonna seam seal all the way down this. But if I push down here now, there's no movement, and that made that good and strong. This side over here, I don't have welded in yet. I've got the round rod laying here, but watch this. See, I've got movement where these two come together. So I'll get this round rod stitched in on the vertical and the horizontal. I'll skim coat this fender once again in that body line area. Round it off to the top of my round rod, and then I'll seam seal all the way down along these edges, all the way around the back. I fiberglassed all these welds yesterday, and I just ground it down with 40 grit. I just put a layer of sandable primer on there. I wanted to kind of see how good it was covering and smoothing out. It's hard to see what you're doing when the whole thing looks like one of your grandmother's quilts, you know. So I wanted to just kind of get it all one color so I could kind of see how it was coming together. I put a little more fiberglass around this thing this morning. I got this area fiberglassed as I was doing that. I still had a weld right here I needed finished. I'd done that this morning. I want to go ahead and get these welds down here fiberglassed so I can get this down for the final time and get it welded back up. And in this corner, I still haven't did anything to yet. But that's where I'm at with it right now. And then like these, all that's going to get roughed back down, and then just a real thin skimmer, just to kind of blend this all in a little better. And yeah, but anyway, that's where we're at with it right now. This steel up on top, I don't know what this thing does. As I look up at the trunk latch and stuff, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the latch. I thought maybe it turned to, you know, hold that board in, but there's not one over here. You would think if that was the case, there'd be one on both sides. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm just going to grind that rivet off and just take it off of there if I can. There's a dent right here. I can't get to it from the back because it's double walled, so I think I'm just going to smooth this all off with some Duraglass and get the top of this looking the best I can with this gone. And then on the sides, someone before me has welded angle iron underneath this on both sides. And what they did's okay. That made it good and strong. I think a guy could stand on it. I've welded just a little bit more on it where it was kind of rusty just to make sure it's solid. And I think I'm just going to, you know, get the top looking nice. And then on this, I think I'm just going to lay some fiberglass mat over both sides, Duraglass it, and then just smooth everything off. And then just have that all looking like one molded piece in there. Just blend it all right back into here just so it looks molded, you know. And get that looking right again. And as soon as all of this is done and that can be finished off, I suppose the next thing I'm going to do is start trying to work on this lip, get it straightened out, fiberglassed up a little bit so I can get the rubber seal on there, and then we'll move on to the trunk lid. But as soon as I get all the welding done on this, and there's no more of that to do, I'm going to seam seal all this top and bottom, get it all coated with the POR 15 underneath, and get the gas tank back in. It's just as soon as this welding's done, which it just about is. So anyway, that's where we're at this morning. All right, guys. That wasn't double wall there. That was single wall. I don't know why I was thinking it was double wall. Anyway, I got that thing off there. I beat it up a little bit with a hammer and kind of got the dent out. I put a layer of Duraglass over that. I'm probably going to flatten that off with a flat block and put one more layer in the low spots. Get most out with fiberglass before that way I just put a thin skimmer of Bondo. And then on both edges where they got this original metal welded to the angle iron, that's an old repair somebody's done years ago. I feel like that was probably done back when the car was still being driven, because that repair looks too old to have been something Brian would have done. It's just like a rough, you know, like farmer repair kind of, but it is strong. So I just laid matting over that to bond this metal to the angle iron because it's all rusted and jagged. And then I'll grind that off and finish both sides off with Duraglass as well, and just mold this all into one piece. I think the only other place I need to use mesh and resin is right back there. And then any of them pinholes I had along here are being filled by this round rod and Duraglass process, and then that'll get seam sealed. So I think I'm gonna go home for today, let this all get dried up. I get back over here, I just got a little bit more welding to do, a little bit more fiberglass to do, and then we'll try to get a thin layer of Bondo in there, I'm thinking. Anyway, out of here for today, guys. I'm welding that round rod in there, top or the bottom, and then to the side, and it's making that real good and stiff there before I could push that up and down. So that's going to give me a good solid seam, you know, between the fender and the floor. Well, I had a little bit of pinholes and fiberglass work to do down in there anyway. And I thought, you know, instead of using a seam sealer down through there, I was just going to put, see that factory seam sealer over there along the top of that inner fender? See how big it is, that big factory seam seal, big gnarly. I was just going to put a big gnarly seam seal along here, kind of like what they did there. You know, it would add me a little more strength if I just fiberglassed that. It's more work, but, you know, I think it would be stronger and it'd probably look better. So, anyway, I've sanded this off. I don't have any 40 grit paper here. All I got's 80. I need to get some 40 here, but I've sanded that off and I've put one more layer there to get that round rod to cover up and blend in. I'm just going to fiberglass down both sides, and it'll just make it stronger. And then my uncle was watching the last video, dent here in this fender. That dent bothering him, so I kind of beat that out a little bit. I get a good body hammer over here in a dolly. I can probably make that better, but I did that for you, John. I hope that helps. I don't want you to be upset, and maybe that'll make you feel a little better. I'm hoping that makes your day a little better. Saturday. I think it's about 60 degrees out, raining a little bit. Haven't been doing a lot of filming today because about all I've been doing is sand and Bondo. That don't make very interesting content, you know. And I'll take you in here in a minute, just show you where we're at with everything. And been doing a little welding, a little fiberglass, a little Bondo work. Yeah, guys, here's where things are at. I got this kind of fiberglassed and Bondoed up. I don't know. Check that out and see if I got to do a little bit more to it. Pretty well got all the welds hid. I just sprayed some primer on there. It's still wet. It's wavy. I don't care. I'm not trying to sand it with a block or anything. Just finger sanding it. My goal was just to get the welds covered up. You know, so if you opened a trunk, the average guy wouldn't know it was repaired. You know, a 40 Ford guy would look in here and he'd be able to pretty well tell immediately that it's not original, you know. But the average guy at the supermarket, you know, sees you with your trunk open, he would look in here and probably wouldn't notice anything. And that wavy and unevenness, I'm probably going to be painting this with some kind of textured bed liner or something. So I almost feel like I'm going overboard with it, even using the Bondo in the first place. This side there, I've just about got it where I can finish it off, I think. This side here, I've still got to finish welding the round rod. I'm right-handed. It's hard for me to do this from this angle. I think I'm going to crawl inside and hit it from the other direction. I'm just having a hard time welding at it, at the bending over in there. This here, I've got a foot made for it, and I've put a few tack welds on it just so I could push it down and get my angle right and still be able to bend it. Now that I know where that's where that needs to be, I cut the old bottom off of it and got it back to pretty good metal. I'm weld that on across and weld it to the floor, and then eventually got to get a hole drilled in it. And I'll just fiberglass that all in, kind of like I did here. Just kind of blends in with the floor. This one here had a little chunk out of it down here, but I didn't see where it was worth really trying to fix it. Back in there, everything's looking pretty good. Yeah. This side over here, you know, it looks good along the wall there, but I've still got to make the piece for down here. And if you guys watched the last video, I cut this little paper pattern for this side. I was looking, and trying to get you in here where you can see, but I don't know if I can get an angle on it, but anyway, that one works there. I can't get a good view of it. It needs to be longer. It needs to be taller on the top because it's rusted out further. But otherwise, I can just retrace this onto a piece of metal. Make my next one just 3/4 of an inch longer, I think. Anyway, guys, that's where we're at with it today. I'm gonna run home and grab a cup of coffee. I might come back over here, I might not. This is Saturday afternoon, about 4 o'clock. I think my wife's home cleaning the house. If she is, it's probably best I stay the hell out of there. But anyway, I'm gonna go home, drink a cup of coffee, and see if I want to stay home or come back over here. If I decide not to come back over here, this might be the end of the video for today. I don't know, you know, it ain't perfect, but that looks good enough for a trunk floor. And as I was putting the Bondo in and having to sand it back off, I started thinking, what in the hell am I doing with this Bondo in here? I mean, good enough without it, right? I mean, it's probably gonna get covered up with rugs or something. But I just really wanted to get them welds to hide. And I think we're gonna call that good enough as soon as this is completed the rest of the way. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here for right now. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this or not, but I hate sanding Bondo. I hate it. I hate Bondo. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you in a bit. Hey guys, I made it home, got my coffee. Anyway, all I can really think about is getting a shower and getting this Bondo dust off of me. That's what I really want to do. So that's what I am going to do. I might go back over there and work tomorrow, put it on next week's video. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. I didn't get a whole lot done this week, too much to do at work, plus Christmas and all that. But even so, it moved along pretty good. We're a lot further than we were. And I think probably another 2, 3 of these trunk videos. Probably be done with that, move on to something small for a while, get a few of the little things done, and then probably move on to that trunk lid. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for us today. And please like, comment, share, subscribe, all them things. Really appreciate all you guys that watch. Catch you on the next one. Later. Jeremy.